Hello, welcome to Buckle Up. I'm Jasper and this is the Lexus SC430, and today I'm going to try and find out if it is actually a used luxury Grand Tourer bargain. The Lexus SC430 was released in 2001, and based on its front view, I think you can see why it came out with questionable reviews as to its styling, because it looks quite overinflated. It's like they've taken a smaller car and just pumped a bit of air into it to kind of make it a bit bigger. The lights are kind of bulbous, the whole bonnet just it's a bit too inflated, and the standard Lexus grille from the time doesn't sit quite right because the rest of the car is so large around it. The wing mirrors stick out a bit. My colleague said they look like Shrek's ears, and very few things at the front of the car actually look good. The one thing I do like is the fact the windscreen wipers are concealed beneath the top line of the bonnet, and that's about it. Good job, Lexus. Unfortunately, the design does not improve when you get to the side of the car. When you are here, you realise that it is far too long and the proportions just don't quite sit right. There's too much car at the back here. The rear wheel looks tiny and there's far too much metal above it. The bonnet is an acceptable length, but the roofline dropping back into the rear of the car just doesn't quite look right. It's a very over-designed vehicle that just, it hasn't aged well. I mean, it didn't look great when it was released, to be honest. It's not the fact it's not aged well, it just wasn't good to begin with. Additionally, these alloys are just, I mean, I don't even know how to describe them. It's like an alloy has had an extra bit of bin lid attached to it in the middle. I personally think the rear of the car is actually the best angle to view this from, but it's still not exactly a nice viewing experience. It's too bulbous up here, and, well, the boot ends, but the bumper sticks out a decent amount behind it, and it's overstyled. I don't like the rear light clusters either. I do quite like the twin rear exhaust tips, but I don't know if they should wobble this much. Given the size of the rear of the car, you'd probably expect it to have a decent sized boot, but if you open this, you will be sorely disappointed. Most of the space back here is taken up with room for the hardtop once it's down, because this is a convertible. Even if you move the cover for the hardtop out of the way, the space you are left with is an inconvenient shape and still not actually very large. It would definitely be enough space to go away for a weekend with a couple of bags, but you're not going to be doing any large shopping trips or runs to the tip in a car like this. Not that you would if you own one anyway, you'd probably have staff to do that for you when it was new. Now we've had a look around the exterior, let's jump in and have a look around the interior. Before we do that though, I'll put the top down. Sitting in the front of this car, you realise that actually the interior feels quite small, especially given the car's size. Now, the interior of this is definitely showing its age, because a lot of it is covered in the kind of fake wood that luxury cars around the turn of the century were famous for being draped in. The leather on the seats is actually quite nice, and the interior does feel relatively airy, especially when you've got the top down. The steering wheel is just ripped straight out of a Toyota with a Lexus badge stuck in the middle, and it has also got the wood on it, which makes steering a very slippery experience. This car has Lexus's easy entry system, which means that when you put the key in the ignition, the steering wheel whirs forwards into the driving position, and when you remove it, it goes away, which makes getting in and out easier for people with larger bellies. The centre of the cabin has a screen which whirs forwards into position. It is a very dated infotainment system, but it is admittedly touchscreen, and the sat-nav system does appear to work. However, you will definitely be better off using your phone. Pressing this button here reveals the audio interface, and it is definitely dated because this has a tape deck in it, which even for a luxury car around 2001 was not very common. The 6-disc CD changer, pretty standard for the time. The audio system in this car is one of its key selling points, as it's a high-end system from Mark Levinson. The climate controls are automatic and there are dual zone controls available. There are heated seats which can be controlled with a dial down here, and the interior, generally it's okay. I don't like the fact the dash is a different colour to the rest of the upholstery, but overall it is a relatively classy interior. The boot is not massive, but there are a few places up front to store items in. The centre console here is dual access. There's a shallow compartment at the top and a deeper lockable compartment at the bottom. This also has a 12-volt socket in it. In the centre console there are cup holders which unfold, which are a reasonable size and in a good location. The glove box is large enough to store a few items as well as the owner's manual in, and there is an ashtray, a coin slot, and the door pockets are a reasonable size. However, the huge handles for the doors do restrict your access and actually prevent you from putting much in them. I am now going to attempt to get in the back, and even with this driver's seat in my short arse forwards position, I'm not looking forward to it. This is one of those grand tourers that is a 4-seater that is definitely only usable as a 2-seater. Now, there is a quick release lever for the seats, but it's on the wrong side, and the seat belts can be attached to the front seats, which the seat belts can be attached to the front seats, but the bit of leather that does so likes to fly off if you remove it. Now, oh God, I am not a very large human, but this is cruel back here. No. The backrest is incredibly upright, and this is really very much a bucket seat because the place where your bottom goes is actually quite low down in comparison to the surrounding leather. There is a little bit of storage back here. I really am wondering why Lexus bothered putting anything back here, because these seats are clearly not designed to actually be used. As I can't even sit behind myself, and I am not very tall. This is dreadful. I'm 5'7.5". According to Rob, everyone who's short always says "and a half".
My go. Oh, don't do that. Oh, you idiot. Now you're stuck.
No, I'm not. I've got a quick release lever. Turns out I can sit behind myself, but only if I do some kind of contortionist's routine. Actually, unless... No. No. Just no.
My go.
Oh, God. Oh. Like, you can't even get your feet on. The back seats get even worse if you put the roof up. This is a very disconcerting and claustrophobic experience, and this car has a light roof liner. Why do car companies insist on putting extra seats in the back of cars that clearly do not fit them? Just make it a 2-seater. Just make it a 2-seater and give us a bigger boot. Please. please. Now we've had a look around the exterior and interior, let's fire up the 4.3 litre Toyota V8 engine and go for a drive. So, driving the SC430, it feels big, I'm not gonna lie. You are quite aware of how long the car is because you can see the full length in the wing mirrors, and it feels like a barge, it really does. It's incredibly smooth, but it's not something you would have fun driving twisty roads in. But then again, that is very much not the point of this car. It is a grand tourer, so you are meant to take it on wide, flat, smooth roads and just enjoy cruising along, and that is something you can very easily do. It's effortless to get up to speed, the gearbox is incredibly smooth, I've not felt it shift at all, and at high speeds it's nice and quiet as well. The steering it's not very direct, then again it's not that kind of car. If you put your foot down, it shifts surprisingly well actually. The gearbox will kick down and you can actually lurch forwards at a surprising speed. The performance is not bad actually. This car will do 0 to 60 in 6.4 seconds, which for something that weighs just under 1.8 tons is not bad. If you just are gentle with the accelerator though, it's a beautifully smooth and quiet driving experience. The brakes are pretty good, they bite well, the discs on the front wheels are massive. The gearbox is a conventional 5-speed auto and is incredibly smooth, really can't feel it at all, and you can lock into a few gears, but unless you're towing something or going down a hill, you're not going to need to do that. God, it's a barge and a half though. Oh, tight roads and urban driving in this you would become acutely aware of just how huge the car is, because it's big, and you are very aware of that when you have to navigate round parked cars and thread in and out of gaps in traffic. This is very much a motorway, long distance A-road cruiser. Put your foot down, the gearbox kicks down, and blimey, it's surprisingly rapid. A car this big and this wallowy has no business being that fast. There's a small amount of road noise, and unless you have put your foot down and the gearbox has kicked down, you can barely hear the engine either. The controls are all very easy to access, they're placed very well. Lexus, obviously being tied to Toyota, know what they're doing when it comes to a car interior, and the layout and placement of everything is superb. The ride on less than perfect road surfaces is very good. The suspension soaks up bumps in the road and the car rides very well. When it comes to tighter corners, you do become aware of how large and weighty the car is though, because it wallows into corners and there is an amount of body roll. Now, the rather large engine in this only produces 282 brake horsepower, which is not a substantial amount for a 4.3 litre V8, but it does come with a healthy lump of torque. Driving this, it is very difficult to see why it was badged the worst car in the world by a certain well-known motoring show. But that's me sitting here in 2021 viewing it as a days gone by luxury car. And admittedly, at the price point when it was new, I can see there being a bit of an issue. But now, prices online for this car start at under £5,000, and the range goes up to kind of 20 for a decent low mileage, well looked after one, but starting at under £5,000 for what can only be described as a pretty good package, if there's only two of you, is not bad. It's a lot of car for £5,000. A lot of car, because it's big. To sum it up then, this is one of those cars that is definitely best viewed from the inside looking out, because if you're on the outside looking in, you do see its gopping styling and disgusting face. Admittedly, with the roof down, it does look a lot better, but it's still hardly what you'd call a beautiful piece of design work. However, the incredibly smooth and effortless driving experience you get from the beautiful V8 engine and silky smooth 5-speed automatic gearbox do mean it is a car that is supremely easy to just waft about in. And that is the key point about this car. If you buy it for the right reason, it is a very compelling purchase. If you are looking for something more sporty though, this is definitely not the car for you. If you've made it this far through the video, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, check out all of our social medias, have a look at our merch, and we'll see you next time.